Hello, everybody, and this is a little bit different video podcast than I normally do. I have invited Aleksandra on here, and she's going to be talking a little bit about her experience about studying for the NPTE as somebody where English is their second language. And you're from Poland, correct?
I'm from Poland.
Poland. Awesome. So she's going to share a little bit about her story, and I hope a lot of you guys can find a lot of value from what she's going to be talking about, because I know a lot of you guys are either, first generation, or maybe like you've immigrated here from another country, or maybe it's just English is just really hard. And I totally get that. And I want you guys to realize that the language barrier is not the ultimatum that you won't pass the NPTE. That it's just another thing that we got to realize we got to work on, but it's definitely not a death sentence when it comes to the boards. Plenty of people have been successful, and Aleksandra is going to share a little bit about herself. So without further ado, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and where you're from originally. I kind of spoiled that one. And then a little bit of why you decided to become a PTA.
Sure. So I'm from Poland. I've been in US since age 24, so about 20 years. So initially when I came to this country, I didn't know what I want to do, and I work in gym settings. My background is actually in recreation and leisure studies, so I kind of was doing different things for a long time. And about 10 years ago, I decided that I want to think about doing physical therapy. So I started to do some, classes, and it took me a long time to do all the prerequisites because of the English being not the first language. That was a primary challenge, and then just life. So it was taking really slow progress. And I actually got into a doctorate of physical therapy 10 years ago. And I didn't go, and that was based on my life circumstances. So I let it go. But the journey of getting into the program was also very challenging because I was having a hard time passing the entry exams because of my, the barrier of the language of English. So for the grad school, I forgot the name of the exam. Anyway, I finally got in. So a lot of perseverance, and then 10 years later, I decided that I want to switch from being a yoga teacher and do something that is more rewarding. And I just kept being called to PT profession. And I didn't think I can pursue doctorate again because I just don't think I'm in the right place in my life. I just wanted to do something quicker, and I just started to research, and I found the PTA school in Maine. And I was able to take some of my classes from the past and apply them. And then a lot of the things I had to repeat, unfortunately. And I finally got in, again, it took a little bit of work, or a lot of work. And it was about the pandemic time. So I lost all my jobs as a yoga teacher too. So it was just a kind of a good time to think about going back to school. So it just sort of worked out time-wise. I always want to work with people in a more of a therapeutic way. So I felt like as a yoga teacher or as an exercise specialist, I didn't have enough knowledge how to modify or guide people in more of a medical way or expertise. And, now we ended, and then and then you froze. So I think that's where I was with my ending to answering your question.
That's awesome. And apologies, sometimes it gets a little bit glitchy there, but no, that's an amazing story. That's a lot.
It's a long perseverance story, because I went from wanting, I guess it took me so long that when I actually decided to pursue PT, it became a doctorate. So that was daunting to begin with. And, just the timing sort of worked out the way it did. So sometimes people joke with me and they're maybe you go back to bridge, but I don't. I think I'm good where I am right now. So
yeah. And that's why I just started my PT program in my second week, and that was a lot. And I'm just like, I'm so impressed. Like, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And
Thank
then
you.
you were like, it seems like, the timing worked out, that like, like it might have not worked out back then, but like you were supposed to be here treating people in PT, and maybe it was like they really just felt like it just was the timing. It just was the timing. So I'm so glad it all worked out for you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then you're already over the finish line. You passed the boards back in July, right?
Yes.
Excellent. That's awesome. I was so excited when you told me you passed. I was like, oh yeah. Because I know
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise. I did not think which most people don't think they passed anyway. So
I thought I failed.
yeah, I know. I kept listening to your podcast, like, what if you fail? What if you pass? All of those things. I kept playing different scenarios. Yeah.
But you were fine. I mean, that exam's rough. And like when everyone says they felt like they failed, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's that week you get in between waiting for your results to come out.
Mm-hmm. It's just because they ask you questions that you don't think like, you do well on the practice ones, and then somehow they ask you questions from things you did not study on, and it just makes you feel like you didn't pass.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
But then you did. So you're all good.
Yeah.
All good. All right. So what was your biggest struggle when you were studying for the NPTE?
Mm-hmm. So in general, testing is really challenging. And I think I had to learn through the PTA program how to test, because everything is test-based. And I just had to learn that skill. But when it came to the NPTE, that was just even more difficult and really overwhelming. And my practice exams at school, I was not passing in nearly close to where I need to be going, and that made me feel like I'm never going to pass it. And I felt so overwhelmed, I guess, at the end of my, in May, I was like, I have no idea how to study for it. And then, so part of kind of going with your podcast and other resources, I learned how to structure myself better and like take little bits of knowledge and not think about the big picture, and then really apply it. I think one of the benefits of like the way you did it is the application of the knowledge, not the knowledge itself, because you can learn all this stuff, but if you don't know how to apply it, it's not going to help, and so I'm a visual learner. So because of the English part, like sometimes I can hear something and I cannot get it. I have to see it. So a lot of the times I would like listen and then have to go to YouTube to watch it. So like watch brachial plexus or watch whatever innervation, because just hearing it is not enough for me. So the visual was, helping. And then sometimes I had to translate things like medical terminology, it's like a language on another language. So like learning like from Polish to English and then from English to this new word that I've never heard about. So it takes a little longer, I think. It took me longer, maybe.
But you still did it.
Yeah, I did. And so when I actually passed, my score was, actually I didn't like, I try not to care about the score, but then when I really want to see it, and I was like, whoa, where is that score came from? Because I've never, even with my practice exam, I didn't reach that level. So
what did you get?
Like 721.
Damn, girl, you get it.
So like that felt good, because I didn't want to be just barely passing. I mean, it would be fine, but just for my own reward for all the hard work. So
that is amazing. Good for you. Over a 700. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you did mention that you use my podcast for some help. If you want to elaborate on that more, or if you want to talk about the other resources that you use to help you study, because I'm sure other people would like to hear all the things that you use to help you study.
I did your podcast a lot, like on the way to clinic, because I was already working pretty much when I was studying, which is also another challenge in itself. And I used the other, I forgot the name of the resource, you will know, but it's called a crash course. I think it's called PTA exam final. I don't know who puts that on.
PT final exam.
Yeah, PT final exam.
With Will Crane.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so I did that also they have a podcast as well, and like a 4-week crash course prior to the boards. That was super helpful. That's pretty much it. I mean, I did the score builder as well. So I had that on my computer, and I had some apps, like a score builder app, another like a daily questions. I did a lot of questions because I felt like at the end, the only way I was able to pass was learn how to answer questions. So that was my strategy, is to learn how to use critical thinking in answering the questions. Yeah, and I just kept listening to the podcast over and over, to be honest with you, because there were a lot of things.
You came to the review session, right?
Yes, I came to your review session, which was super helpful because it gave me a boost of confidence. Like, I actually felt like I know more than I already thought I do. I like answering your questions. So all of those things were helpful. Not studying from the book was not helpful. Like, the score builder book, not helpful.
It really is about applying the information. And that's why I tell people, like, take a practice test or like quiz yourself, give yourself like a couple questions, maybe like, I don't know, flashcards, make a Kahoot or something like that. Like, it's so helpful. I mean, that's my favorite thing, to make the Kahoot for you guys at the last minute review. Cause
and then writing things down, right? So like writing, I don't live with anyone except my kids, so I couldn't like talk to them about the stuff that I was learning about, but I would talk to myself about it. So trying to explain it, I think you said it, like try to explain to someone else. Whatever you're learning, like talk it back to someone else to see how much you actually retain.
Yeah, like the highest level of understanding is to teach somebody else about it.
Yes.
And like, I mean, that's what we're doing as like therapists. We have to educate our patients, so we have to be aware. And I have this one class that I'm doing, like, it's an exercise physiology class at school, and all we do in our breakout rooms is teach our patients about a scenario of our patients. And it's so helpful because it really is the highest level of understanding the information.
Yeah, and I think another thing, like, giving yourself permission, which I can say that now it's hard to be in the middle, to be like gentle on yourself, because then the ocean of knowledge is endless and you cannot know it all. And one thing you said at some point is, you know enough to pass the boards. Like, you can know it all, and you just have to believe. It's almost like you have to believe in it and say it back to yourself, because your mind will trick you in believing that you just don't know enough. So
yeah, that's very true. I get people all the time. They're like, I don't know this, I don't know that. I'm like, yeah, but look at all the stuff you do know. Like, trust me, you do know enough. I mean, there's still stuff that I started learning about in school, and I saw a practice question on it that someone sent me, and I'm like, I didn't know that until about 2 weeks ago. Like, you literally can't know everything for this exam. So as you were kind of saying, like, have grace with yourself, like, understand, like, you have come so far, like, you are smart enough, you are worthy enough. I think a lot of people struggle with that and the confidence.
Yeah, and one thing that helped me is to learn how to like eliminate answers. So if I didn't know, I learned how to get rid of 2 answers and then just have 2 left to narrow the choice of picking the right one.
Very true, very true. It's a very good strategy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So first of all, let's talk about that day when you opened up the FSBPT website and you saw that you passed. How did you feel? Talk us through it.
Well, I was at the clinic, and I was in the middle of the day, and they were like, oh, it was so much pressure because they kept waiting if I passed, because the job was really, I was licensed applicant PTA, so a lot on the line. So I started to see on my phone people from like the message boards like, oh, it's open. So it was very rainy. I believe Tuesday was like a thunderstorm in Maine, and I left clinic in the night, and I was driving home, and it was like pouring rain, and I was, the weather just felt so dramatic. So I came home, I opened the website, and I didn't even know how it's going to look like. I mean, I saw people putting the screenshots, but I was like, I don't know. And then I opened, and it said passed, and I started to cry, honestly. I was like, it just feels like, oh my gosh, I don't have to study anymore. I mean, you have to study for this job, for life, but not study under this amount of pressure. So the pressure is a lot. It's a lot. Or at least it was for me.
I think it's a lot for a lot of people, especially anybody who's already working on, like, at least here we call it a temporary license.
Yeah.
So like you're
In
like,
Maine, we don't
better
even
pass.
have that. So we have it's almost like, it's called licensed applicant PTA. And then if you don't pass, you have a problem. So
Yeah, ours is like, it's an actual like license, but if you fail, then you got to be hands off, you're done.
yeah.
Like or if you don't take it within 6 months, that's the two
the
options.
same.
So yeah, but you did it. And that
Yeah.
was a long time coming, but you 100% deserve that. And you put in all the work to basically, like, there was no doubt. Like when you told me you passed, like I was really excited, but I had no doubt in my mind that you were going to pass.
Oh, thank you.
And sometimes it's all it takes is have somebody believe in you.
I think that's a part of it. And some people ask me from the board, like, what did I do? And I think I was very consistent. I did not have a day without studying. I mean, maybe, that's too much. Maybe some people say, oh, you should take a day off. But like every day, even it was a 30-minute, I dedicated time to study every night. So that's me. I don't know if that would work for everyone, but that's how I did it.
And then what other piece of advice would you offer any PTE students studying for the exam? And then specific advice for students who are English is not their first language?
Yeah, I would say don't wait till last minute, which in retrospect, a lot of people say you should be studying when you're at school, and it's hard when you're at school, but I think applying the knowledge at school in a better way, like quizzing yourself, it would be a better start. So it doesn't feel like a host of information and then you're so overwhelmed. And with the English part, like just know that you may need to take more time. I was considering doing when I was at school, I actually considered apply for like accommodation for time, but then I learned how to strategize and I didn't need so much time. So I just kind of like, I persevered so much so that I actually did not need more time. And they said my school told me it's not an accommodation, English as a second language is not a disability. It's just something you have to deal with, which is fair. So then I just realized I can complain about it. It's really what it is, and I just have to embrace it. Because I would complain to myself, but it's just what, I chose to live in this country and it's my disadvantage, but other people have other, like maybe ADD or any other deficit, or, I had a friend at school that had a learning disability, more like dyslexia. So that was difficult for this person too, so so there's the other obstacles that people have that doesn't make me, I don't know, I shouldn't be privileged to have accommodation.
No. And like, honestly, I wouldn't have been upset if you got accommodations. I wouldn't have thought, oh, that's unfair, whatever. Be like, girl, whatever, you do your thing. And I mean, like, I have ADHD and like I could have applied for accommodations, but I had the opposite problem where I went too fast. So I needed to slow down.
So
yeah.
And then one thing that I think I realized too, sometimes I did not understand the question because I didn't understand the word in the actual question. So I pick up words when my practice exams happen. I pick up words that repeat constantly, like a word. I forgot the word now, but let's say a word that would be meaning to what the question is really asking about. And I learned the words, because I'm like, this word is going to come up.
The keywords.
Yeah, like a keyword. And I didn't understand the question. I can't go to the proctor and be like, what does the question is asking? They can't help me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you basically took what other people would use it as an excuse and you said, well, let's figure out a way we can overcome this. Because I mean, everything's figure outable. You can figure it out somehow. Does it mean that you are at that disadvantage? Yeah, but I mean, you got 721 on the exam.
Yeah, I just basically realized I'm gonna have to work harder, and I did. So
you did fantastic.
Thank you.
I hope you celebrate yourself. I really do.
I did. Yeah. I mean, now, I'm working, but I guess you're making me inspired to continue to learn, because when you pass, then you feel like, oh, I don't want to be studying, but I always want to learn every day, and be better.
And that's what, continuing ed, personal development books, all those. Yeah. Works. Lifelong learner.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about it. I hope that this has inspired a couple students who are struggling right now. And I just really appreciate your time. So
Thank you. I
so much.
appreciate you and your podcast, and I keep listening to it. So thank you.
Oh, of course. I know people keep taking the question of the day on Instagram who like passed a while ago. And I'm like, keep taking it, keep learning.
Yeah, for sure.
Take care, everybody,
Yeah.
and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.